Hi, this is Pooja from the Nutrition Clinic. Thank you for joining me today while we discuss ways in which you can use food and nutrition to help boost your immune system. Today we will discuss how you can hack your immune system using food, using nutrients, and using lifestyle strategies. Before I get into the topic, I'd like to share with you a little bit more about my background and the practice I run. I run a clinic in Singapore called the Nutrition Clinic, and we have been doing this for the last 10 years. Our focus is to use diet and lifestyle interventions along with supplements in a very targeted and personalized manner. We do this by running some really interesting tests. We figure out whether a person has deficiencies, whether they have food sensitivities, and using the data that we collect about them, we can design a diet that's right for them. We can give them the supplements that they need, so we're not topping up anything based on guesswork. We help them balance out their sleep patterns, identify the right kind of exercise for them, and look at what kind of relaxation and stress management strategies would be right for them. The whole idea with the work we do is to get the body in balance. So let's talk about what's happening right now and how we all are responding to it. Clearly, for the last few months, most people have gone through a whole sequence of emotions, a whole sequence of changes. The way you work has changed, the way you live has changed, the way you spend time with your family members has changed. And what I have seen over here is that initially there was a lot of time spent in this first circle of anxiety. And what that looked like was the spreading of negative news, overeating, overbuying, the sense of panic that I think came once we started finding out just how big COVID was going to be and how it was going to affect our routines. What I'm starting to see, and the way I'm working with many of our clients, is really getting them to look at this period as a period of growth, as a period of opportunity. I know that many of the people I work with in Singapore have way too much travel, way too much work, not enough sleep, not enough time with their family, and not time to do some of the things that they may have wanted to do. And that's just the reality of wherever we are living. It's the reality of modern city life. And so what I'm getting our clients to do is to really think about how we can use some of that time in a positive way. How can we slow down? How can we meditate? How can we exercise the right way? A different way perhaps, but a way that isn't as dependent on going to the gym. It could be simple exercises you do at home. How can we work within our community? How can we feed ourselves right? Because that is so important when you're talking about boosting your immunity, keeping healthy through an infection, through a crisis of infection. You have to feed yourself right. And in the process, going from anxiety to growth, there is a process, a shift. And that shift really comes from a place of trust. It comes from a place of choice, and it comes from a place of reflection. I think it comes from trusting in yourself, trusting in the system around you, trusting that this might be a new normal and it will be okay. It comes from a place of choice. How do you choose to spend your time? How do you choose to start your day? How do you choose to look at this as an opportunity rather than a restriction, and to recognize triggers? Now, obviously, we talk to a lot of people about food triggers, but there is also the overconsumption of news. There is the overconsumption of TV, of not sleeping enough and watching too much TV at night. So really identifying, and I think for a lot of people, there is an opportunity to catch your breath and really look at where you're at and how you want to live. And I hope that you're able to, I hope this slide helps you just get a sense of where you might be and where you might wish to go with this. With the work that we do, we really, really believe in personalizing. Where I'm at is going to be different from where another person is at. So for some people, sleep is an issue, stress is an issue. For some people, movement is an issue. And for some people, food and supplementation is an issue. And again, it's a good idea to reflect on what's working for you. Are you doing some of this quite easily, and are you facing challenges in other areas. And do reach out, give us a call, send us an email. We'll be happy to share some ideas and tips with us. Our blog has a lot of content. We're very active on social media. I think it's a great idea to just take small steps, and we really believe in the power of small daily steps. You don't have to do something dramatic in order to get results. The small thing that you do every day, even something that takes 5 minutes, like a green smoothie, you do that on a daily basis, it's going to add up. So it doesn't have to be daunting. It could be a short exercise video. In fact, what we do believe, what we tell our clients who struggle with exercise is do 5 minutes every day. Forget about doing the 1 hour over the weekend. Just do 5 minutes every day. And the 5 minutes daily actually adds up to as much, if not more, than that one intense workout on the weekend. And similarly with stress and sleep, you don't have a bank of sleep that you can go into. Get into bed a little bit earlier every day, and that will add up. So let's talk about immunity and what does it mean when we say boost the immune system. In fact, I don't look at it as boosting the immune system. The immune system is a system of balance. You don't want it too high, you don't want it too low. You want it in balance. And that's actually true for most things in the body. There is a natural intelligence, a natural sense of balance. It's just that we do a lot of things that can take the body off balance. And everything we do at the Nutrition Clinic is all around balance. We believe that the body has intelligence, and if we give it if we give it what it needs, we take away what it doesn't like, and we prioritize where you need to spend your time doing what, the body will figure it out. It does a lot of the work for us and for you. So when we look at the immune system, a really interesting place to start is digestion. Up to 75% of your immune system is actually derived from your gut health. There is something called mucosal immunity that's based on all the linings in the body, and there is a huge amount of mucosal tissue that's in the digestive tract. That digestive system lining is really important for where the body decides what is foreign, what is not. It's part of the intelligence that the body has to then create a response to what is foreign and what needs attacking. When we're talking about COVID, that mucosal immunity is in the respiratory system. And so it's really important to protect the mucosal immunity throughout the body. Now, when we think of gut health, and in almost every form of natural medicine, the belief is that all illness begins in the gut, and all health resides in your gut health. So what does gut health mean? To me, it simply means, well, how well do you digest? How well do you absorb? So the whole point of the digestive system is to take what you put in it. And obviously, what you put in it needs to be right too. It needs to start with whole foods that your body needs. You need protein, you need carbohydrates, you need vitamins, you need minerals, you need antioxidants, you need a whole bunch of nutrients. And then the body has to be able to break that down. The body has to be able to take that in, and then the body has to be able to use it. So gut health starts with being able to digest and absorb the nutrients. I've listed over here a few nutrients that are particularly important when it comes to immunity. Amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. Really important to get enough protein. Really important to get your iron. Vitamin D is something we get from food, but we get actually a lot of it through sunshine, just being out in the sun for 45 minutes. Morning sun is preferable. You can manufacture vitamin D in your body. Vitamin D is super important for immunity. Vitamin C, I think a lot of people are aware of, and obviously vitamin C is very important for immunity. A lesser known nutrient for immunity is zinc. Zinc is a mineral, and there are several studies that show that zinc is particularly useful for viral infections. Now, none of these studies have looked at COVID specifically, so everything I refer to is general immunity boosting, or if I do refer to studies, these are studies that have been done on other infections. Magnesium is a really interesting mineral. 90% of the population is deficient in magnesium. We do get magnesium from green leafy vegetables, but the vegetables themselves get that magnesium from the soil, and the soil in many countries is low on magnesium. So many people are low on this nutrient, and magnesium is really important for relaxation, for muscle relaxation, and for sleep. Um, the other thing to look at with gut health, outside of specific nutrients, is the gut microbiome. This is, to me, a fascinating area of study, and we're just starting to learn about it. So we have more microbes or bugs in the gut and on the skin than we have human cells by a factor of 10. So we have more of these microbes than we have human cells in the body. This is a complete, it's a complete environment. It's an ecosystem, and it's not passive. These bugs that live in our gut, they number one, they have a lot to do with immunity, but they also help us with digestion. They help us with absorption. Many of them produce their own vitamins. So it's really important to protect the gut microbiome. Now, some of the things we do that can destroy or hurt the microbiome is coming back to the same thing: not getting enough sleep, not managing stress well, keeping a diet that is more processed, high sugar, not getting enough fiber from the diet. And the other thing that can happen is the overuse of antibiotics. Antibiotics are absolutely necessary at times, but every time you take antibiotics, you have to either have some fermented food or some supplements, some probiotic supplements, to protect that gut microbiome that may be hurt by overuse of antibiotics. In my practice, I see a lot of people have issues with the gut microbiome as a result of stress. So that's a connection I see all the time. The other area that hurts the gut is if you're eating something you're sensitive to. Food sensitivities are very different from allergies. So an allergy is an immediate reaction. A food sensitivity is a slow, delayed reaction. And that reaction can take as long as 3 days to show up, 72 hours to show up. The three most common foods that we find people react to are gluten, dairy, and eggs. And gluten in particular has the ability to really wear the digestive system down. If you're sensitive to gluten and you cut it out for a period of time, you will notice it. Almost without exception, I find that when people cut out gluten and they have a sensitivity, there's something noticeable that happens in the body. So what I tell people is, if you can get a test done, get a test done. If not, try cutting out some of these foods and see if you feel better. The issue with a food sensitivity is not that it's not a permanent situation. It's not that you can't eat that food again. Often you develop a food sensitivity if the microbiome isn't in a good place, if the nutritional status of the body is not in a good place, and if you've overeaten the same food again and again. It can just create the system where the body is reacting to it. We call this whole situation leaky gut or intestinal permeability. It basically means that the gut is just not able to separate what it wants to use with what it wants to reject. There's just this confusion in the gut. And that's what leads to the food sensitivities. What we do is we get our clients to stop those foods for a period of time while we fix that confusion. And then they can bring those foods in. Maybe not excessively, but definitely in moderate amounts. Let's talk a little bit more about the direct impact between stress and sleep and gut. So there is a separate nervous system that connects to the gut. So this whole feeling of butterflies in the stomach is actually very real. There is a separate nervous system that is constantly, the body is actually very, very intelligent. The body is constantly trying to assess, how safe is it? Do I need to worry about a threat? Well, yes, right now the body is on alert. The body is looking, do I need to worry about a threat? Is there a lot of, when you feel anxious, when there is a lot of stress, the body is getting into this fight or flight space, right? You're alert, your heartbeat may go up. Digestion and things that are not immediate take a bit of a back seat while the body's trying to prepare itself for a crisis. Now, if the body's doing that all the time, if there's constantly a sense of crisis, what tends to happen is the body just starts getting exhausted. The body just, when you're in a fight or flight mode, you're not digesting well, you're not resting well. And so there is again this imbalance between fight or flight versus rest or digest. We call that the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system. You can either be in a sympathetic or a triggered nervous system where you are ready for fight or flight, or you can be in a calm parasympathetic nervous system state where you are ready to rest and digest. Now, it's no surprise that most people spend way too much time in fight or flight and not enough time in rest and digest. And again, coming back to the current situation we're in, I would say it's a really good opportunity to start activating that parasympathetic nervous system. Get to do those breathing exercises. I know it sounds really simple, but get to do those breathing exercises, get to do some of that meditation, get to calm the system down, because that does have a huge impact on immunity. Now let's look at what is a healthy diet. What is a healthy diet? And this is not just for immunity, this is for overall health. And I'll get out of the way the things to avoid, right? So the big ones to avoid are sugar, junk, processed food. If you know that you have a food sensitivity, then cutting that out for a period of time is also really good for your immune system. You don't want to consume too much alcohol. You don't want to consume too much sugar. You want to consume almost zero junk, if possible. Now, I know there has been a little bit of worry about food supply, and what a lot of people have done is stocked up on a lot more processed food. There is this feeling that I may not get fresh food, and I know it's different in different countries. To the people who are living in Singapore, I think Singapore has done an amazing job of making sure that we have the important basics that we need. I have not gone into a supermarket and struggled to find the basics that I need for healthy meals at home. Yes, you may not get that specific brand of a specific product, but you honestly don't need it. I think this is the time to really cook simply, cook in a wholesome way, and work with as fresh ingredients as possible. So what we are doing at home is really always lots and lots of vegetables, always some protein, and some healthy fats. And that's really the base of the diet that we follow. So it could be as simple as a piece of fish, some stir-fried vegetables, cooked in some olive oil or some coconut milk, right? Really simple stuff. But I think this is the time to eat simply. This is the time to not overindulge. This is the time to kind of really get back to basics. And I think for a lot of people, this is also a time where they can do some cooking. And again, that's something that gets lost when things get busy. Coming to what I want you to include, we call it eat the rainbow, right? Get as many colors as you can get. So in a typical week, try and get as many colored fruits and vegetables as you can get. So think about pumpkin for orange and purple cabbage, and of course greens. The whites, I'm just going to jump to that picture of the garlic that you see over there. The whites, so particularly ginger garlic, and even herbs like lemongrass, turmeric, spices are all really high immunity. They have a lot of compounds that are just good for us in general, but they are good for the immune system. Protein is super important, and I think it's important for everybody to get protein at every meal. It helps to keep energy stable, it helps to keep mood stable, and it also helps stop us from craving sugar. So if you're eating meals that are very rich, so if I imagine a meal that is largely rice, maybe a little bit of veg, and just a little bit of protein or even no protein, trust me, you're going to be hungry in 45 minutes and you'll crave something sweet. Whereas if that same plate had lots of vegetables, two scrambled eggs, maybe some avocado or some nuts and seeds or some coconut, coconut is great. Try and work with what's locally available. If you did a bowl like that, that would keep you full for a lot longer. And I know for a lot of people, feeding entire families has become a reality now. And so you want your family to have structured meals so that there isn't the sense of constant grazing, which can happen when you're at home. I'm going to jump to the bottom three pictures now. Papaya is a great fruit. It's got, again, it's got color, and I like food with color. It's got some great digestive enzymes, natural enzymes in them. But again, you can eat whatever variety of fruit that's available to you. Again, stick to local. I think it's a good idea to eat local and support local farmers, support local producers of food right now. Avocados are a favorite for many people, but it can be sesame oil, it can be coconut, as I've said, it can be nuts and seeds. Get lots of good fats in the diet. Right in the corner over here, we have bone broth. Now, bone broth is a favorite of mine. It's a very simple recipe. It's basically boiling bones to make soup. Something that's been done in traditional diets for forever, really. But we have so much research that shows that bone broth is fantastic. It's got a lot of minerals. It's easy to prepare. Once you prepare it, it can keep. You can freeze it, or you can keep it in the fridge and use it over 4 to 5 days. I really like it as a base for soups. You can just put some noodles in that, some protein in that, lots of greens in that, and you've got a meal prepared in minutes. It's really good for the gut. It has certain proteins that are really good for the gut. So wherever possible, when you can get some bones, obviously if you can get organic bones, that's better, but get good quality bones, boil them for a good 4 to 6 hours so that you're really extracting the nutrients out of them. I like to add ginger, garlic, lemongrass, lots of herbs and spices into my bone broth, and then that just puts all those extra nutrients in as well. So a lot of people have asked me, how do I eat well, just in terms of the food preparation, right? A lot of people are inspired to eat well, but how do I make it happen? When I have to get up and get to work and my kids are studying at home, how do I just put it all together? So a few tips that you can start using immediately. One really nice idea, especially for countries like ours which are hot, you want something cool at lunch, you can prepare something that feels like a salad bar in your fridge. So you can have a bunch of greens, and when you bring them in, just give them a good wash, dry them so they're ready to use. You don't have to worry about washing them every time you want to use them. I like to keep some cut raw vegetables. We've got carrots over here, radishes. You can, of course, keep some fruit aside for that as well. But I also like to roast vegetables. So you can make a big batch of roasted vegetables, and they can be eaten hot, but they can also be had cold. So you can toss roasted vegetables into your salad, and then you can roast an entire chicken, or you can do meatballs and keep them in the fridge, and that can be the protein. For people who are vegetarian, they can keep chickpeas or some tofu tempeh in the fridge, and again throw that into the salad. I also like to make my own dressings. I like just a simple olive oil dressing, and I like to make a big batch of it so you don't have to worry about the dressing. And really what you can do is just take a bowl and put all these elements into your salad, and then just toss some so you had the vegetables, some cooked, some raw, some protein. And then the other thing that makes salad really interesting is to have something with texture. So seeds, nuts. If you eat dairy, then put some cheese on top of it, and that can make a really nice meal. If you have access to avocados are great in salad. So you could, many people are used to going to a salad bar for lunch, but just because those places are no longer just down the road from you, doesn't mean you can't have a salad. You can just plan for it, and once you do the planning once a week, it can probably last you for a good 3 to 4 days, and then you can top up again. But you don't have to have a salad every day, obviously. The other thing that I really like is soups. As I said, I like bone broth a lot. I think soups just feel very nourishing. I'm generally of the belief that you don't want to have cold food twice a day. So have a salad once a day, preferably in the daytime, and have a soup, have some cooked vegetables at night. It's just easier on the digestive system. You can make a big batch of soup and freeze it. It's the easiest thing to freeze. One word about vegetables for soup. Feel free to use frozen vegetables. You do not have to have them fresh all the time. Frozen vegetables are actually nutritionally just as good. They're frozen the moment they're ready, which actually almost freezes them in that time. So you're getting all the nutrients. So don't hesitate to buy frozen broccoli or frozen beans and throw them into soups. And of course, the other thing you can do is to do protein shakes. And protein shakes are also a really good way to get kids involved, because kids do like shakes. They don't have to be green every time. But if you do a protein shake, to think about protein shakes, think about a liquid. It can be coconut water. If you have fresh coconut near you, go ahead and use that. It can be almond milk. It can be oat milk, which is really delicious. You add a fruit to it. So banana tends to work the best. It's creamy. I always have frozen bananas in my freezer that are frozen, so that they can just be taken out, thrown into the blender. And then you can add greens to it. You can add peanut butter to it. You can add a bit of coconut oil to it. And I like to add a protein powder to my shakes, just so that you're getting that protein in first thing in the morning in particular. The protein powder I really like is collagen protein. It is really easy. It mixes very easily. It doesn't have a texture or a taste. And collagen is really good for the digestive system, which we've covered is important for immunity anyway. A really handy thing about shakes is you can actually put lots of things into them. So if you have superfood powders, a lot of people buy things like acai powder or bee pollen, and then it just sits there. You can throw those into shakes, and you can give yourself some variety with that. If you'd like some more tips, we have a pantry guide that you can download from our website, and I'll share those details with you at the end. And we've just come up with some simple ideas of what you can stock in your pantry at this time, so that your food can go in different directions and can be used in a smart way. Let's talk a little bit about supplements. I've mentioned a little bit about zinc. Zinc, according to studies have shown that zinc is a mineral that is involved in virtually every aspect of immunity, particularly when it comes to viruses. There are several studies that show that zinc is important for the common cold. It's an important protector for the common cold. So I think it's important to get zinc. There are certain populations that tend to be chronically low on zinc. Vegetarians can be low on zinc. Vegans can be low on zinc. If you have an issue with absorbing nutrients, let's say you're somebody who suffers from digestive issues, then it's likely that you're low on zinc. One of the highest food sources of zinc is oysters, and obviously that's not a food we eat very often. There are other sources of zinc, but some people can be quite low. This can be tested, but I think right now, if you want to add a little bit of zinc to the diet, either through food or through supplements, there's really nothing wrong with that. There's an interesting study. It was done at the end of last year, and it didn't look at COVID, but it looked at influenza, and it found that a high-fat, low-carb diet boosts the immune system, and it helps trap the virus before it spreads. And it specifically looked at the keto diet. Now, I'm not recommending the keto diet for everybody for immunity, because it's not as simple as that. Some people do well on a keto diet, some people do not. But the main message I would take from here is go low carb. There is no harm in cutting back on sugar. I can say that for everybody. You can cut back on sugar and your health will get better. Now, whether you should go high fat or go high protein or go strict in a certain direction, that depends on your personal needs. But most people do benefit from reducing the amount of sugar they consume. And this study hints at the fact that going low carb or cutting back on sugar does seem to have a beneficial impact on the immune system. And the third study that I'd like to highlight is one on vitamin C. And again, it helps the body adapt. Now, there are different branches to the immune system. One of the branches that we are really interested in right now is that the body should be able to adapt to anything new that it's exposed to. And vitamin C does seem to help things along. And again, you don't need to go super high on vitamin C. Get it from food. And if you are unable to do that, or if you feel like you fall ill often, I think it's a good idea for everybody to take a little bit of vitamin C extra, and there's no harm with it. So we call these our super dust, our supplements that we really like. Collagen, just because it's an easy source of protein, and it also helps the gut. And just acknowledging that gut health is important for overall immunity, I think it's a good idea for most people to take some collagen. Vitamin C, as I said, vitamin C is a great add-on, as is zinc. And probiotics, most people do need some help with their microbiome, and probiotics do help just balance things out in the gut. Thank you. I'll be really happy to take any questions. If you do have questions that come to you later, feel free to WhatsApp us or email us. You can also look at our website, which is thenutritionclinic.com.sg, and download the pantry guide there. Thank you very much for your time. I'm really happy to have shared this information with you, and I look forward to hearing from you.